Greetings and salutations. The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan is published today. So I've never done one of these before, but I'm going to attempt to do a reading vlog for this. So it's currently like 7 in the morning. I've got it on my Kindle and I'm about to start reading, and then at 8 I'm gonna head into the city, go to a bookstore, buy a physical copy because I prefer physical copies, but I wanted to start reading it today and I wanted to like read it on my way in. Because I'm gay, I can't drive, I catch public transport. We're gonna try a reading vlog. If this turns into just like half an hour of me crying because I'm not ready to say goodbye to my comfort series, then that's what it is. That's what it'll be, and please don't bully me in the comments. So the bus to my favorite bookstore in my city comes in like 20-ish minutes, so I don't think I'm gonna start reading yet. I think I'm gonna start reading it on the bus as I go into the city, which means that like I won't do updates until after I've gotten to my destination. But then I'm gonna go to my favorite bookstore and I'm gonna buy a physical copy, and then I'm gonna grab a coffee and we're gonna be good. But also I would like to shout out to my earrings, which are Battle of the Labyrinth. They're like the newer cover of Battle of the Labyrinth. These are a gift from my mother for my birthday because she is fantastic at finding me little Percy Jackson presents. She got me my like camp beads for my 15th birthday. I'm gonna put my riptide necklace on, despite the fact that it doesn't go with anything I'm wearing, just because I want to. I've tried to do, my hair's very curly today, but I've tried to do a little bit. The wind will ruin it and it'll just be a huge poofy mess, but try to do a little bit of like the musical Annabeth, little twist backs. And this sweater that I'm wearing, because it's fucking freezing despite it being spring in Australia, is actually a sweater I bought in 2016 just specifically because it reminded me of Annabeth. I can't really tell you why, but it did, and I bought it for that reason alone. In a way to like subtly wear a Percy Jackson outfit rather than just full on wear a camp shirt because it's fucking freezing. This is what I'm going with. Okay, so I just made a whole trek into like the city to go to my favorite bookstore to pick up my pre-order, because I pre-ordered to pick up in store, as you do. Their stock isn't in yet. There was like a delay because of COVID stuff. They won't get them in for another couple days. Probably should have realized that usually I get a text or an email when pre-orders are ready to be picked up, and I didn't. But I'm an idiot who was just excited, so I made the trek. It's not there. Came back home, so it looks like I've got it on my Kindle already because I got it to read on the bus in. So I'll just read the whole thing on my Kindle, which is fine, and then I'll pick it up whenever it is ready. But like, wow, imagine having no brain cells. That's me. Percy's coming to say hi because he knows that it's his day. The wind really did a number on my head. Look at these bangs. What has even happened? I apologize to my parents. The wind did ruin me. But I did read on the bus in, so I only read the first few chapters and then I stopped because I got up to the last sentence I read was, let's go see Percy Jackson, or let's go to Percy Jackson Place, or whatever it actually was. And I had to stop myself because I was starting to cry and I was in public, and I was like, no, don't cry in public. Also, I want to like be able to actually vlog while Percy is there, and I didn't want to in public. Just a little update. When the Arrow to Donor was like, yes, we need to go to the place with the 7-layer dip, that made me cry. Like that was the part that made me cry. Not actually mentioning Percy. It was the place with the 7-layer dip. I can't really explain why. Just any callbacks to anything to do with the Lightning Thief send me into a spiral. Also, I was reading like the opening chapters, or the opening 2 chapters, I think. And you know, there was the fight scene on the train, and I was reading that on a bus, and then a man got on the bus, and I didn't look at him, like I was still reading, but he started whistling and walking really slowly and then sat down like right behind me, and my brain was like, that's a monster. They've come to get you. Your demigod days are finally here. That is a monster. He will attack you. Be on your guard. Obviously it was just a regular man. I was just reading a scene in which monsters were on public transport, and then was like, there is a monster on my public transport with me right now. Because I'm nearly 19 and I still like to think that I am a demigod. Okay, so I am home now. I've got my reading socks on, which are essentially just huge fluffy socks that have like cat print on them that I got in Melbourne, that are just, they're very warm and they're very comfy, and they're like slippers, and they're called reading socks. I bought them from a bookstore and I do wear them while I read. But I've got my reading socks on, and it's like 11-ish, so I'm going to read for a couple hours before I have lunch, and God, let's go. Estelle's born. Estelle, she's there. She's an alive child. I'm gonna cry. Not me about to cry because Paul Blowfist is there. Definitely not. That's not a thing that's happening. She has Percy's sea green eyes. Estelle has Percy's eyes. I'm stupidly emotional about this. They're with Grover. Why am I like this? So Estelle's drooling grin really said, look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now, huh? Hi, I'm really emotional. What is this? That's just a pure mascara tear. Hi, I'm really emotional about Paul, just being a dad and talking about Percy and just talking about Percy getting through high school. This is gonna be a wild ride. I've just started the book and I'm already crying. This is gonna be a time. There's just something about Sally and that apartment that feels so homely and nostalgic to me. Okay, so I just finished the chapters at Sally's apartment, and they made me really, really emotional. Like, I cried through most of them, and I think it's really hitting me that don't cry, don't be a little bitch, Ashlee. It's really hitting me that this is the last, you know, period of time that I'll spend in this world. That may have been the last time we'll ever see Sally. And, you know, I've been reading these books since I was 10, and Sally herself has kind of, in my head, become like a mother figure in a weird way. She is the character that almost feels the most like home to me, more so than Percy and Annabeth, and I can't really explain why, but it just does. And having her be there and be included, and having Paul there and getting to see them be a family with Estelle, and talk about Percy graduating high school and being on the way to college with Grover and Annabeth. It's the first time we've had even a mention of the three of them being together since the last Olympian. It's making me really emotional, and you can really tell how much Apollo has grown. I really struggled through the first like 2.5 books in this series because I just couldn't deal with Apollo as a narrator. I really, really struggled with how selfish he was and how he didn't really view the people around him, like these characters that meant so much to me, as anything of worth. You know, he said right in the beginning in like the first chapter, after that two-headed snake thing got killed, how he used to regard, you know, mortals and demigods with that same kind of dismissiveness that Lou regarded this monster. And it's really relieving to have him be human now, and I really enjoyed the 4th book, and I'm really enjoying this one so far. I'm not very far into it, but I am really enjoying it so far, and I think that's because Apollo is he's much more human now, and he cares about these characters that I care about, and I'm much more invested in Apollo's well-being or Lester's well-being because of it, and I'm just more invested in the story because of it. I'm having a time. I'm having a time. Also, the little line about how they usually crash the Paul's Prius did make me laugh quite a bit. They're taking the chariot of damnation! I'm so excited. Why am I this excited? I still don't know if I trust Lou. Here's an update. I still don't know if I trust Lou. I feel like she is on their side, but like, why fucking stab Meg? I know you're selling it, but like, I understand why Apollo was like, oh, maybe we're in real danger. But she gave them so much information that I think she's legitimately on their side, but I also don't know. I don't know. But I'm excited about the Chariot of Damnation. Apollo really has developed so much, and it makes me upset that he infuriated me so much within the first few books, because just as I'm really starting to love this series that's coming to an end, which sucks, but it means that we're ending on a high, which is a very, very good thing. But he's completely developed, and his entire, you know, sense of morals and what he finds important has changed, and it's really refreshing to see. And it wasn't something that happened immediately. It did happen really gradually throughout the series, and I think that that's such a testament to Rick's talent as an author. Him talking about like needing Estelle to rise so she can dominate the planet makes me, one, really happy, but two, really emotional. I'm really, really upset that the series is coming to a close, if you can't tell. The Grace is just having the island and Apollo slap, and none of them all immediately being like, he will cross the eye if we don't tell him. This is a 10 out of 10 callback. I just read the sentence, Adair reveals the path that was unknown, and yelled, Rachel! Because I know that that means that Rachel Dare will reveal the path that was unknown. Imagine if I could read like a normal person. I'm 100% sure my neighbours can just hear me screaming and crying at this book every now and then, so that's a good sign. Mr. D is back at camp! So Nico just, officially found out about Jason. I'm trying very hard not to cry. I just want Nico to have a break, man. I did love Mr. G going around being like, this is Mr. A, he's my assistant. Like, it's very nice to have Mr. D back. Having him there makes it feel more like Camp Half-Blood. Like, more like the Camp Half-Blood from the first series. The camp that feels like home, because I realised that camp was in a state in the Hidden Oracle, or from my memory, it has been a couple years since I read the Hidden Oracle. I really can't explain why, but Apollo being like, I woke up in the me cabin is really amusing to me. I can't explain it. That's just a really entertaining sentence to my brain. Also, God fucking bless Will Solace, the fact that he went shopping for Apollo. I love this kid so much. Nico finally coming to terms with Bianca's death, and then sensing the death of Jason, his first real friend. I'm fine. So, one, Nico having to work with Dionysus to keep his sanity is making me very upset, but two, someone in Tartarus is calling his name. If it's Bob, I'm gonna freaking lose it. I actually can't deal with Nero's invitation to the burning of New York, where it's like, unless Lester does this, and then we'll just have cake, gifts, only expensive ones, RSVP. Don't bother. If you don't show up, we'll know. So it's now canon that, I suppose, like, the Guardians from the different fucking pantheons just have a meeting, have a joint task force to try and prevent the end of the world. There's a Disney Plus reference. There's a Disney Plus reference in this book. Cool. Is Rachel's fucking neighbor the Brooklyn house? I love Rachel so much. Her being like, grab a yoo-hoo on a beanbag and we'll discuss like the end of the world. I adore her. It also just makes me really, really happy that she's like painting again and having some type of vision again. Like, she's seeing some things again. And her being fucking, that's the Brooklyn. She was talking about the Brooklyn. I'm not, that is Rick Riordan, man. Will saying, I bet many movies tried to bring us this information. This is why I love Rick. Thank you for putting in these references that, like, they feel like they're tailored to me. Thank you, Rick. Hello there. I had to take a break from reading to get a coffee, and I found a nice little part of the book to take a break in. So they've just surrendered to Nero, and he's revealed that he knew about the plan the whole time, and he's cut off loose hands, and felt like a nice place to take a little break. I'm halfway through. I'm just over halfway through. I'm really loving it, which makes me a little upset because I had a tough time with Trials. I really did not like the first two books. If I'm being honest, The Burning Maze and Tyrant's Tomb I did like, but I still had this like poor taste in my mouth after the first two, and this is the first one where from the get-go, my dog is entering my room. From the get-go, I've just been completely in love with it and completely on board the entire time. And it's reminding me how much fun I have with these books, and there's so many callbacks to the first series which are making me emotional, but just as a whole, I'm loving this one so much and I'm so invested in it. And it sucks because it's the last one. This is not only the end of Trials of Apollo, but it's the end of Camp Half-Blood Chronicles. And while I am glad that we're ending on a high, it's really awful that the first time I've truly fallen in love with Trials is as it's ending, and as the entirety of the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles is ending. But I am really loving it. It's so nice to see a lot of Rachel again. Rachel is a character who I absolutely adore. I didn't for a while. It took me a hot minute to warm up to her. Can you tell that I can, Annabeth? But Rachel is a character that I really, really love now, deeply. And so it's very exciting to have her be like a huge part of this story, and seeing so much of Will and Nico makes me very happy. Seeing Will fucking like essentially be like a fucking lamp and then they gave him a lampshade, but seeing him be a lamp made me very happy. I loved that they were trying to bargain with hats, and they were all given hats, and when they gave Apollo the Mets hat because no one cares about it, I was like, oh, Dylan O'Brien better not read this book or he won't be happy. I am really, really loving it. I'm reading it quicker than I think I've read any of the other Trials books. The Tyrant's Tomb was the other one that I read fairly quickly, but I read that one in 3 days still, and I got this book this morning and it's now like 2:30 in the afternoon and I'm halfway through, so, which is a little upsetting. I wish that I kind of was going a bit slower with this, because I think from here on out it's essentially just going to be battle and then the conclusion of the entire series, or of the entire Camp Half-Blood Chronicles. And I feel like I kind of rushed through all the like fun, happy character moments a little bit, and I'm very aware that I probably won't ever have the joy of and the magic of reading a Percy story for the first time again. I know this isn't a Percy story, but like a Camp Half-Blood story for the first time again, which is upsetting. The scene where Apollo dreamed of Jason talking to him just happened, and I didn't like sob, but that just made me cry a little bit. I really do miss Jason's character. I spent the entirety of Heroes of Olympus absolutely clowning on him, but he was a really good hero and I appreciated his character a lot. I made fun of him, but I loved him, and I really do miss his character, and just having that little glimpse of a moment with him, even though it was just in Apollo's head, made me emotional. So Nico's just shown up ready to help, had a little skeleton soldier help out Apollo there, which is I knew he was going to show up soon. It was just very exciting to have him actually pop up. And they're currently just like looking out at the layout of the battle and everyone who's shown up to help. And I would just like to say that this Ben kid, I love him. He's just in a wheelchair that is just adorned with like weapons, and as he spins he's just like slicing and dicing, and I love him. I genuinely love him. I think he is now my favorite character. They've just given Apollo Mountain Dew to clear his head, and like, is this a weird obscure Be More Chill reference? Probably not, but it doesn't specify what Mountain Dew it is, and I would like to believe that it's Mountain Dew Red and this is a weird obscure Be More Chill reference. So I'm getting a little bit nervous that Percy and Annabeth aren't going to be in this. I kind of thought when we saw that photo of them and Grover that they would show up and help fight. But I'm getting through the book and they're still not here. And look, I know this isn't Percy's story. I know I shouldn't be just holding out for Percy and Annabeth and Grover. I know. But if we end the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles without at least a decent amount of them being there, I'm gonna be a little disappointed. Like, I think they'll still probably show up, but the further and further I get in, I'm like, oh my god, we're going to get like a phone call or something. We're going to get the amount of them in the entirety of this book as we did just in that phone call at the end of like Ship of the Dead. I want to at least see them in person and have like a substantial conversation with them. I thought we'd probably see them in battle or working together, which I was hoping for, and I still hope that happens, but the further through I get, the less likely I think that is, which is a little disappointing, especially because it feels like every other important character from Heroes of Olympus has had a substantial part in Trials of Apollo except for Annabeth. I know that we saw a lot of Annabeth and Magnus Chase, but I would like to see some Annabeth in this series, please. We've literally seen none of her. So I just finished chapter 39. It is very exciting to have Nico here right now, again, in this final battle. I would also like to say how proud I am of Meg. Her finally standing up and being like, no, it's not my feelings, it's the truth, made me cry. As someone who has experienced gaslighting and manipulation and like some fun little emotional abuse, that made me cry. That was a very powerful moment. I also want to talk about how good of, like, how fantastic of a villain I think Nero is, because in the same way that I think Gotha was a fantastic villain, the scariest part of him is that his true power isn't anything like physical. It's his power of manipulation and of emotional abuse. That kind of power is far more unstoppable than someone who just has brute strength or sheer like physical force, and it makes him a much scarier villain. The reach that he has and what he's capable of goes so much further than if he was just had a lot of physical powers. Nero pushing the wrong button and just closing the blinds instead of killing everyone. Only in a Percy Jackson book, that's all I'm saying. Will just showed up! My baby, my motherfucking cinnamon apple is going to save everyone. He's gonna save everyone. And Rachel's there too. Yeah, right? Yes! Rachel is also there too. Look at the power of the gaze. Rachel is so fucking cool. I can't. Literally her just being like, Rachel Elizabeth Dare, and right now I'm the girl who's holding your life in my hands. Literal spare hand in marriage. Literal spare hand in marriage, Rachel Dare, please. Every time it said that someone has to try, which has been a thing said multiple times in this book, my brain just jumps between, we could feel that we have to try, and the entirety of try from the Lightning Kids musical. But it doesn't mean that I will try. I'll try doing it. You know the song. Both of them just playing in a loop in my head anytime someone has to try. Rachel just hit someone in the eye with a plastic blue hairbrush. Oh my god. So there's a Hamilton reference in the haiku for this chapter, so I'm expecting a good chapter just on principle. Only time in this entire series where I haven't hated Hera. I still don't know how to pronounce her name. People say it differently, whatever you go with. I've said both of the different ways I hear. There you go. Well, obviously he's not gonna fail because this is a children's book. Obviously he's not gonna fail. But I can't see him returning to, like, godhood at all. I just don't see that happening. Also, I'm getting very scared that Percy and Annabeth just straight up are not going to show up in this book at all. If they don't, I'm going to be legitimately upset, honestly. Annabeth not being in this series, besides a couple of mentions, like not actually having her be in this series at all, if that is the case, is going to make me upset, because this is the end of the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles, and not having Percy in the last book, like having, but surely the fact that we saw so much of Sally and Paul and Estelle means that we will see Percy at some point. I am expecting an influx of fan art of Nico in the cowboy hat, and I'm excited for it though. What's the mutual problem? What the fuck is a mutual problem? Have I forgotten, or is this hinting at something else? I don't want to let myself hope that this is a hint for something in the future, because this is the end of the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles. I know that. That's completely confirmed. But what's the mutual problem? I can't think of anything that's a mutual problem. Stop it. I would just like everyone to know that in my head, when the python yells, I hate you, it's in the voice of Anakin Skywalker. Okay, he's about to visit some old friends, so I think that this is where we're going to see Camp Half-Blood and Camp Jupiter again. This is, I assume, where I saw the spoiler about Pfeiffer getting a girlfriend, which if I finish this and that wasn't true, I will riot. So that's exciting. My sapphic little heart is very excited for that. But I'm also hoping to just see Nico and see Will and see Mr. D and see Grover and Percy and Annabeth and Frank and Hazel and Raina and just everyone. I hope that we do get to see everyone. And I selfishly hope that we get a significant amount of time spent catching in on Percy and Annabeth. If I finish this book and we don't see Percy and Annabeth, I will have a breakdown. Okay, so what happened was I got up to the last, I think, 2.5 chapters last night. Apollo was just about to go back and see all of his friends, and then my family came home. And this is really stupid, but I recognized obviously that is the end, that this is the last we'll see of majority of those characters most likely, and I wanted it to be a private experience for myself rather than one where I could hear my family in the background and stuff. And I wanted to actually finish it in the exact spot where I started reading The Lightning Thief when I was 10, which is a spot in my living room, and my family, you know, allowed. So I put the book down for the night, had a little bit of a breakdown about how little I had left, and then I decided that I would finish it today, right now, when no one else is home. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm already emotional, so we'll see how I cope. The next time you see me will be after I finish it. Something that makes me really happy is it's like the middle of spring right now in Australia, but it's like raining so hard and it's really cold and it's complete winter weather, which also makes me really, really happy because the first time I read the series was during winter, and majority of my memories of reading it for the first time are sitting next to the heater in my living room and curling up there with a cup of tea and whatever book I was reading at the time, and trying to keep warm, being scared to take my books to school in my bag in case it rained because I didn't want them to get damaged at all. And a lot of my memories of like the first series involve winter and sitting in this one specific spot. So I'm gonna go sit there, I'm gonna finish it and listen to the rain, and we're gonna see how I'm doing emotionally after. Okay. So that last line got me pretty good. Not the last line, the last like page. Probably saying that he's our friend now and he'll be there when we call on him. That got to me. Seeing all of the 7 one last time and the mention of Grover. I really, really hope that mention of the road trip is one of the possible standalones that Rick is gonna write, because he's said that he's interested in writing a Nico one, and he obviously set that up quite concretely with Bob. But I really, really, I'm selfish, and I know that Percy and Annabeth weren't important to this story, but I felt like their story didn't have a proper ending in Heroes of Olympus, so I've always, and because they're my favourite characters, they're the characters that I fell in love with first and who are my comfort characters, I always hope for a little more from them. Another chance to see them, another chance for them to get their happy ending. I'm quite upset about this series ending. Don't be a bitch, Ashlee. Don't be a little bitch. It feels a lot like the end of a chapter of my life that I'm not ready to say goodbye to. This series, these books, the entirety of the Ride and Verse, but definitely, especially the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles, have been very important to me for a long time. They have been my safe space and my home for a very long time. I started reading these books when I was 10. For the stupidest reason, I thought Logan Lemon was cute, but refused to watch a movie that was a book adaptation without reading the book first, because I was one of those kids. I can remember finding The Lightning Thief in my school library and being really excited that we had it there, taking it home and starting it that night, and I can remember the exact spot I was in when I started reading it, and I remember after the first chapter going to my mum and being so excited and relaying the entire story to her, because I was just immediately infatuated with it. I finished the first book in 4 days, which was a lot quicker than I read anything else when I was 10, then watched the movie that weekend, fucking hated it, obviously. Sorry, I'm trying not to be a little bitch when I talk about this, I just want to talk about the impact the series has had on me. As I read through that first series, it was during that time was when my home life and my family life started getting really, really bad. Or when I got old enough to understand it, maybe is a better way of putting it. Because I've talked a bit on here before about how my family life isn't the greatest. I don't have the healthiest home life. And through that time, I found safety in those books. And as I got older and things got worse, or other things happened, or just my mental health in itself got worse, I always found safety in those books and those characters. Anytime I'm really, really going through it, I just reread the books because it reminds me of hope and of family and, oh God. Annabeth's character specifically, I really saw myself and my trauma reflected in her in a way that I hadn't ever before. And it was so incredible to me as a kid to see a character who I saw so much of myself in, who still got to be the hero when I felt like I was just always gonna be, I don't know, losing. That's not the right phrase. I remember Percy seeming so much older than me when I started The Lightning Thief. He was 12. That was so far away. That was a full, 2 years away. And now I turn 19 in a couple of weeks. And I'm older than the characters are now. These books shaped me, and these characters shaped me into who I am. Percy taught me what it means to be a hero. And maybe I don't fight the same monsters that they do, but I fight quite a few, monsters of my own in whatever form they take, and it's always nice to just feel like I'm fighting them with them. I'm just really emotional about this series ending. I know that I don't have to say goodbye to this part of my life, but it feels almost like the end of my childhood in a way. I'm just not ready to let go of the comfort that these books bring me, and it literally changed my life too, wholeheartedly. Not only have I grown up with these characters and felt like they're my friends, but I have based my entire idea of love off of Percabeth because I didn't have any healthy relationships to look up to as a kid. I named my cat Percy. Somehow have the honor of being how people see Annabeth in their heads. Not everyone, but some people. I have more subscribers on this channel and more followers on my TikTok than I ever thought I would get anywhere, and that's entirely because of these books. And I've met my best friends through that. I've been able to bond with people I used to look up to because of that. I've been able to create a community of people who make me so happy because of that, and it's just incredible that these books that were just my safe space as this sad, confused kid have turned into something that, now is an adult. Oh God, that's terrifying. And now as an adult, they've changed my life too in new ways that I never thought could happen for me. I think I'm just scared that for the first time since I was a kid, I don't just know there's going to be another book next year. I don't just know that I get to fall back into this world next year. And that's a little scary for me because they were always something I held on to in my darkest moments. There's a part in Bring on the Monsters from the Lightning Thief musical, just in the bridge, when Percy's like, and I'll be back next summer, you'll see me again, I'll be back next summer, I survived till then. That was and is something that I chant to myself, and this is like mantra I hold for myself when I really don't feel like being here next summer, let's say it that way. That's something I sing to myself to get through that, but it's also something I know that, you know, these books come out in near summer for me, but around that time I will get this world back, and if I'm lucky I will see Percy or Annabeth again. Not having that there is a little scary, because escapism is my main coping mechanism. These books are my main form of escapism. This world is where I go. It is my comfort universe. It's what Hogwarts is to a lot of people. And I'm really scared of not having that. But more than anything, I'm just so grateful that that was my childhood, that I got to grow up with these books. That I got the privilege, because it is a privilege, of spending time in this world and being shaped by these people, when I got to see myself in Annabeth and in Nico and in Piper now. I just really love these books, and I'm very grateful for them. And Tower of Nero was a good ending. It was a good way to go out. That's it. That's all I've got. I hope that these books meant as much to you as they meant to me. And I know that I'll carry all of them, but especially Annabeth, in my heart forever. And I hope that you guys do too. I think these books in this world deserves a long legacy. And I think it's important to remember as well that we can always go back. That it will always be home for us. We don't have to say goodbye, even though it feels like we do. Yeah.